Welcome in the NBA with the OG crew. We got everybody here. Dutch, he might tap in just a minute, but we'll start off with Babano, Wambam, and myself. I'll come to you first here, Babano. NBA yesterday for me was great. Haven't talked to you in a little bit. How's everything been for you?
Yeah, it was a good day in the NBA ski. I think a part of it is because I probably can count on one hand how many times I've taken and especially laid big points with the LA Lakers. It hasn't happened very often, but last night we did. We liked the situation. Atlanta was coming off the big win against the Clippers the other night. Back to back, still a very banged up, shorthanded team as well against the Lakers. And the Lakers were obviously coming off the setback to Golden State on Saturday. So it just worked out perfectly situationally. I thought that Lakers could win by margin. They did. The game flew over the total, which I was on as well. So those two results were very good. Last night we had a little piece of there was another one too. It was an overall profitable night, very solid night overall for sure in the NBA. We also had the Bulls and the Blazers over. It just barely squeaked over the total, but we got there with it. So that was good to see last night. So that made it a profitable night, those three bets alone. And like I said, good results. We had a little bit of a bump after the All-Star break where we had a little struggle, a real, 5 or 6, even I would say a week where, we just weren't seeing things right. It was the biggest slump I've had all year in the NBA, but we've gotten it back together, back on the tracks the last few days, and looking forward to this card tonight.
Let's get to that finish. I mean, it's go time from here on out, right? The playoff push. So it's a lot of time. We still got what, like 3 months left of NBA. And this is where it's a lot of money to be made, in my opinion. This is the best time of the season. Wham bam. How you doing lately? And I know you excited for this time of year.
Exactly. No, this is the time that, me and you both, we kind of feast here. And it's just in time for the playoffs, just in time for me to make my future predictions here. I can't wait to kind of like dive into futures with you guys later on, what we expect to happen in the playoffs. And yeah, yesterday was cool. Yesterday was cool. We kind of had a half-ass day. Jonathan Kaminga was barely 2 points away from getting us a even day with him. That was terrible there. We did call it with D'Angelo Russell though, with the assist there. We was on the freshest look. We was on the sesh yesterday. We did talk about that. Darius Garland was terrible. It's a lot of stuff to talk about today, so I don't want to waste anybody's time. We got a lot of shit to talk about today. It's a lot of disrespect going out there in the chat. It's a lot of good stuff in the chat too. It's a lot of disrespect though, I would say.
Not feeling Casey coming at you. What up to Mark's review? Says switching between this and Sauce's show. Appreciate you tapping in. Sauce is a great guy. Both great shows. Let's get to it. We got 5 games on the slate today. Not the most to talk about, but there is some money to be made, and some games I need a little bit of help with. So first up, 501, 502. Rockets, Wizards. This one of the ugly ones. I think it opened as I get over the full game. Open 7-point favorite for Houston. Now 9.5, and the total has dropped 2 points to 227.5. As far as the injury report for Houston, I see same two guys, Sengun and Whitmore both out. Kuzma still game time decision for the Wizards. Denny, Bagley, Tyus Jones, Shamit, um, all out. So Washington really banged up here. I'm gonna come back to you, Wham Bam. I feel like this is a prop type game because how else can we actually touch this? Um, this one. Tell us how to get paid.
It has to be a prop game, and I have to look at our same old guy that we always go to is the boys Jabari Smith. I got to think he gets team rebounds today. Double plus money right now. Got to go with Jabari Smith. Double at plus 125. It's actually dropping down to plus 100 there. So y'all might want to get on that as soon as possible. That's the only way I'm betting this game. I don't want nothing to do with this game. No Kuzma. So who is going to score from there? Is it going to be Danny Avia? It's a tricky ass game when it comes to this game. That being said, I'm only thinking him. We know we don't have Alperin. We don't have Cam Whitmore. No Terry Eason. It got to be Jabari here. I got to think he gets the double. He hasn't had it in the last few games, but this is the worst opponents allowing rebounds over the last 5 games. They're ranked 30th, giving up 49 rebounds in that span of games. I'm thinking that they got to give my boy 10 of those. So give me Jabari double plus 125 plus 100 is the official what you can get right now.
I like it. Wizards last in rebounding. That makes sense to me. But Bano, I have a feeling you might actually play this game. So let me just see here. Wizards, it is their third game in 4 nights. I think fourth game in 6 nights as well. They've only covered 1 out of 5. They usually cover as road dogs. It's home dogs, only 9 and 18. Are you willing to take the well-rested Rockets on the road?
I am going to sprinkle Rockets first half full game split here. I like their form. They've picked it up lately. You look at what they've done. What's been impressive about Houston is they're defending right now. I mean, their defensive numbers have been great during the 5-game win streak. They already clobbered Washington at home 135-119 about 5 days ago. So it is revenge for Washington, but Washington's beat up. Washington's struggling. They've had a really rigorous schedule, lots of road games. Road trip back home. I just worry that they've hit a wall a bit. They've been blown out repeatedly. I don't normally lay points with Houston on the road, especially this kind of number, but I made an exception. I just think this is a spot for Houston. They can continue this role. You look at the last 2 wins they had against Washington and Cleveland. You look at even on the road, the way they've played. They sometimes were reluctant because Houston's not been the same team on the road much of the season, but at Portland, they won by 16. They covered. They won outright as a dog at Sacramento, 112-104. At San Antonio, they won that game as well. So, the road numbers have improved a little bit here for Houston, and I think just Washington's just really, really up against it right now. So, yeah, for me, it's not best bet material, but we got in on Houston here. First half, -5.5, and full game, -9.5.
Splitting it up, and I'm not mad at it. I mean, they have been playing good basketball lately. That's the only way I would play that game.
I like Jalen Green as well. Over assists, over points, maybe do both. I think he'll have an imprint on this game.
And then also, I forgot to mention, A-Man Thompson is probably the only person that's going to be battling boards from Jabari there. So if you like A-Man, I think he gets double digits too.
A lot of different ways they gave you to play this game that is not a great game in my opinion. So we'll move on over to 503, 504, and this is the one I need some help with. So hopefully we can get there on this one. -13 was the opener for Orlando, and it moved. Well, actually, still 13 out there. The total has moved though, down 1.5 point. We're looking at 202.5. So we're seeing how low can you go with this total. Orlando, I don't see anybody on the injury report. For the Hornets, I do see Trey Mann game time. They continue to be without those same group of guys: LaMelo, Curry, Martin, McGowens, Williams. So I'm gonna go to you here first, Babeno. But the Magic, I always say it. They beat up on these poor teams. They're now 20-4 versus less than 45% win teams. 15-4 as a home favorite. They've covered 8 of their last 10 games. The Hornets, though, have 2 days rest, and I really want to try to fade Orlando here. I just really don't have the support I need. I feel like Magic turned the ball over a lot. My guy Kyle was talking about that earlier, and Hornets have been forcing turnovers lately. Can you get there with a side in this game, Babeno?
Yeah, a little tiny pinch I took on Orlando here, laying the big number. I actually did. I just think it's been a brutal matchup for Charlotte. It really has. Orlando's won and covered 4 straight. The majority of them have been, we had a 12-point win in Charlotte, a 13-point win in Orlando, double digits in the last 3 meetings. The Magic don't play until Saturday after tonight, so it's not a front end of a back-to-back or anything. You look at how good they've been for the most part at home against these bad teams. They beat Utah, win and cover against Utah. They beat Detroit by 22. They beat the Raptors in their last game by 15, and they were in control most of the way. So, in this spot here, I just, and Charlotte's had a really, again, tough time matching up with Orlando. I'd actually lean slightly to the over here because the total's just fallen so low. We're talking, 202.5 for an NBA game. You just don't see that often. I know Orlando's been 8-2 to the under their last 10, but you look at these games that have gone under. I mean, with the last game with Toronto went under 197, but the total was 218.5. Then the game after that against Toronto, the total was 217.5. There was 216 points. There was 220 points after that. We've seen a lot of these games get at least a 208. Aside from the Knick game and the last game against Toronto. So I think we've gotten to a point here with Orlando where with this under run they've been on, they've just knocked the total a bit too low. at this point in time tonight, especially when you factor in that 4 of the last 5 meetings between these teams all would have gone over this particular total here tonight. So now that it's fallen to 202.5, going to grab a little over 202.5 at the current number. And as far as prop, I do like Jalen Suggs prop over points for Orlando. When you look at the way their lineup is dispersed, he's going to have to probably get more usage, more shot attempts. So Jalen Suggs for me for Orlando here.
One more question for you, Babano. Do you think the second half is higher scoring than the first half?
Oh, in this game tonight, I'm neutral on that. I'm neutral. I could actually see the first half because maybe in the first half there's a little bit of a sluggish type of demeanor for Orlando defensively. Like it's definitely a spot where, they're coming off a blowout win against another bad team, Toronto, in the last game, that maybe they're just a little lack of focus early on, and defensively they're not on top of their game early. So this could be a game where maybe the points will be more in the first half than the second half, but the only thing I'm playing is the full game total.
All right, fair enough. Wham Bam, your guys over there on the Magic. Are you rolling with him, or how can we get paid in this one?
I mean, he pretty much be ball hogging at this point. I was watching last he was ball hogging like a motherfucker last game. But nah, you know what? I like Wendell Carter here, man. Since Wendell Carter came back, he kind of been the boy. Like, I like to look at him here, but this is a game that I don't want nothing to do with, bro. It's such a low total. Obviously, you said it, Babano. These guys been on a crazy underrun. This may be a little too low though, and with the rest for the Hornets, I think you're right, Skee. I think you might want to see them score here. So that makes me want to take the over. And if you're liking the damn Hornets, this could be the dirtiest of the day. This could be the dirtiest of the day. And there's a lot of disrespect going out there for the Magic. And this is a good way to respect them. And them giving this big number, I can only think Charlotte here with you. So this is one of those games I want to talk to y'all about too. I was thinking over and I was thinking Charlotte here. So it seems like we all kind of on that same page.
I don't know if I'm gonna get there, but I'm trying. So we'll see.
No, this sound like the dirtiest though, bro. Because if you think about the Hornets, you don't want to bet the Hornets, especially against a team especially like a top 4 team in the East. Come on, you don't want to do that.
That is true. So I may get there. May get there on the Hornets. We'll move over to a game that I did get there on. 505, 506. Pelicans, Nets. Opened up Pelly's -7. They're now 8-point favorite. Total has come down 1.5 to 215. As far as the injury report for the Pelicans, Herb Jones is game time. Dyson Daniels is out. Herb Jones is probable, by the way. Dorian Finney-Smith is a true game time decision for these Brooklyn Nets. So I'll come to you here, Wham Bam. I'm looking for Dutch when I see the Pelicans, but Dutch ain't here. This is a terrible spot for these Nets. They've been on the road for 11 days, and they played 6 games. And it's their third game in 4 nights tonight. This is the ultimate flat spot for them. They've only covered one of their last 6 games already. 10, 19, and 3 versus competition. Can you get there with the Pelicans here today, Wham?
Yeah, I really want to take the Pelicans here. I really want to take them in the first half too. It just seems like this is a good spot for them. They actually covered the last 3 in the first half on the road. And this is a good, like you said, this is a flat spot for the Nets, and the Nets terrible against non-conference teams, if I'm not mistaken. I think I just seen that. Yeah, it's 9-18 ATS in non-conference games. They're not that good so far against the West. And I think this is a good team in New Orleans at good peak form, really battling for position in the West. It's just like everything is going for them, and they have such a great matchup discrepancy as far as down low. Obviously, they're not going to probably play too much of Valanciunas, but the boy Larry Nance, and then the boy Zion, they should just pretty much kill these guys on the boards, I think. I only want to go with Brooklyn here. I just don't know if I want to split it though. So I was thinking if I want to split it, go full game first half, or just stick to the first half, because I think they are going to come out early on these boys. Anything strongly, I'm thinking first half. As far as any props, I don't want to touch any props. I think it's a little bit more easier to take the side with the Pelicans here. Well, not easy, but it's a little bit more of a stronger edge for me to take the Pelicans side just because I know that the Brooklyn Nets, they don't really form too well against the West. And this is a bad West team to go up against based off of matchup wise. So I like the Pelicans full game first half. Is this something I haven't locked in yet? But I want to see what you guys are thinking about.
Pavano, these Pelicans have had 2 days off. We know what they do in the first half. I mean, as a favorite in the first half, they're hitting 70.7% this year. Can you get there with them early or often or both?
Yeah, I'm a chalk eater today on this NBA card. I mean, I'm on the favorite. Well, I'm on the favorite small in the previous 2 games. I'm on the favorite a little bigger in this one. Yeah, same thing. First half full game. They're the much better team. Brooklyn is struggling. Brooklyn's been an ATS disaster as well, really since the early part of the season. And when you start to look at and you look at the spot too for Brooklyn, they're coming off a 6-game road trip. We've got the late great Dave Malinsky, rest in peace. Dave Malinsky special here, coming off the long road trip here. 6 straight games back home, bet against spot, says fade Brooklyn, take New Orleans, coming off a long road trip like that. So, and they're the much better team anyway. There's no real look ahead situation for the Pelicans. Well, they got Milwaukee, but that's a couple days away. I think they get there. That's Brooklyn, sorry, that plays Milwaukee. New Orleans has Orlando in a couple of days. Yeah, it's not the biggest look ahead in the world. They can take care of business. When you look at New Orleans, too, when they win, they're winning by margin right now. Beat the Knicks by 23, beat Indiana by 27, beat Toronto by 39. They beat Atlanta on the road by 13, beat Philly by 8, which was the closest margin of victory. 8 against the Clippers, 19 against Portland in their last game. I mean, when they're winning big. So, yeah, first half full game split with the Pelicanos.
I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I have it in my pocket as well. So let's move on over. In this game, damn, I need a little bit more help on this one too, but I'm not as close on this one. I'm not gonna lie. I like the other one more. But it's Dallas and San Antonio. It opened Mavs -8. They're 8.5 right now. Total hasn't really moved. We're looking at 234.5. Spurs without Zach Collins. We have both Luca and Exum probable tonight. They'll be without Josh Green. But Bano, these Mavericks have been playing damn good basketball. I have them 6-0, their last 6, and they've been good as a road favorite, 14-3. The Spurs, though, they have also been playing good basketball. So what do we do with this game?
I'd like to take San Antonio, but they've had a disastrous time of it against Dallas this year. I mean, head to head, Dallas has won all 3. They've covered all 3 by 7, by 25, and by 23. And I've made the mistake taking San Antonio in this matchup before with these 2 teams, and they've been just destroyed by the Mavericks each time. So I'm a little hesitant from that standpoint to get in there with the Mavericks, who are actually starting to play some better defense here the last few games. That being said, you get these 2 teams together, and I can't ignore series history. And I know, like I said, both teams have improved at the defensive end. Dallas in particular, because we know defensively they've been most of the season they haven't been great, but lately it's been better from them. And San Antonio, you could say the same thing. They've given up fewer than 114 now in actually 114 or less in 4 of their last 5 games. They've trended under. Dallas suddenly has gone under in 3 of their last 4 games. But I can't deny series history here, where you get Mavs versus Spurs together, 8-1 to the over in the last 9 meetings here with these 2 teams. So the bet for me is over 234, 234.5. I think both teams bring it. I think both teams are sharp at the offensive end. When you look at the lineups that both of these guys, Pop and Jason Kidd, are going to have at their disposal here tonight, you look at a lineup that is finally on both sides, a little more fluid as far as at the offensive end. You're only missing Zach Collins right now. If you're San Antonio, you're going to have pretty much Luka, Kyrie here for Dallas in this game. And as long as you got them, you're going to be able to score points. Doesn't matter who you're playing. So I think this game gets up and over the number. I lean Spurs too, but they just have had a bad track record against Dallas. Too bad for me to trust.
Oh, this is tough for me, man. Tough. Wham bam. I gotta hear what you gotta say on this one too. I mean, the Spurs are off. They're off a win as a home dog and an overtime game.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to go the other way, but the 8 number is scary to me. How do you feel about it?
Especially after that game-winning shot with Kyrie, there's gonna be some casuals taking Dallas today. It just makes the most sense. And then man, Beno said everything I want to say. He said everything I want to say, bro. I mean, I would just as far as props here, bro, because that's the only thing I think that we could talk about here that makes the most sense. Victor Wembanyama, man, like they gotta zero in to make sure he gets the rookie of the year or some shit, because it seemed like they increasing him or unleashing him a little bit. So his PRA, it seems a little bit low in my opinion. At least I think it should be a little bit more higher than where it is set right now. Let me pull up the exact right now before I just misspoke. Yeah, I thought it was going to be 45 and a half. It's at 39 and a half. Yeah, so I actually like Victor today to go, against this team. So it kind of correlates with the Spurs and a lot of things that you guys are saying there. But, this is a tough team, though. This is a tough game, like you said as well. Babano, this freaking series matchup is screaming at you. They pretty much own this team. And then as far as the under, it hit last game, broke an 8-game streak. So you don't want to go ahead and jump right on the under here, because I think this is both teams playing pretty low. And I'm sorry, both teams has been pretty good on defensive wise, if I'm not mistaken. Dallas is 14th, 109 is what they've been allowing opponents, and not so far for the San Antonio Spurs. So I was thinking of something else, so I'm sorry. But no, for the most part though, bro, I think it only Victor here. I didn't have anything making me want to run to the window to bet the Spurs here. So I was going back with this bitch if Victor wasn't making sense on the PRA.
I am not close to getting involved in that game. So we'll move over to the last one on the slate, 509, 510, Nuggets and Wolves. This one has moved from Nuggets -4 to 7.5. The total has pretty much stayed still. Consensus of what's a lot of 213.5s out there. 213.5, a couple 213s. As far as the injury report, we know Minnesota played yesterday. We know they've been without Towns and Clark, but Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, and Anthony Edwards, all game time decision. For the Nuggets, Najee is game time. Everybody else ready to go. And for this one, this is an important game for both teams. I've gone back and forth, and initially I was liking the Nuggets just because they would have the rest advantage. They lost to them by double digits last time. They're off of a loss, so they should want to bounce back. But I don't like, all these road games that they've been playing lately. And yes, they've been winning on the road, but only 11, 15, and 1 is a road favorite. So between that and just knowing that these teams are neck and neck in the standings, separated by half a game, makes me think that the Timberwolves are not going to lay down. They're going to come and show up too. And as long as Anthony Edwards is out there, I would trust them to do so. So I want to come to you, Babano. Which side is this too many points for what should be a playoff style game?
This feels to me like a little bit like Golden State, New York last night, where I'm like, I'm trying to get into taking the Knicks, and I never did. And I never did. And I'm rue the fact I didn't take the Knicks. I'm like, they shouldn't be getting 6-7 points now with the way they've been playing lately. I know they got pieces missing in that game last night against Golden State, but I thought that number got a little bit carried away. I kind of think this number might be starting to get carried away here too. But the one thing that does concern me here, Denver's off a loss. I don't like betting against Denver off a loss. I just don't. This is the champions. It's one of the best teams in the NBA. They're off that 107-105 loss at Dallas on Tuesday night. I expect a much better effort here against Minnesota, a Minnesota team that's given them problems. I mean, you do look at the last 3 meetings. Minnesota's won 2 of them. Although I think some of that was the playoff series last year. Yes, earlier this year, Minnesota beat them 110-89 here in Minnesota. But I think Denver off a loss, and you look at their recent games too. When they lost the previous game, they've been very good in these spots, not only this season but in years past. Minnesota is playing better. They went through a little bit of a rough patch out of the All-Star break. They look like they were kind of coming back to earth a little bit. But no, it's been a nice 3 games in a row for them, beating the Clippers and the Jazz back to back on the road. But they're coming off a 6-game road trip. This is Malinsky special as well. which says fade Minnesota off a 6-game roadie. Denver with the rest advantage. To me, the number is getting a little bit high where I am tempted by Minnesota, much like I was with New York last night. But I feel at this point in time, I was closer to betting New York last night against Golden State than I am Minnesota here tonight against Denver. So this is going to be a pass for me.
Fair enough. Wham Bam, how you feeling about these clash of some Titans in the West?
I'm going to stick to the first half, and I'm staying away from what's going to happen at the end. If Edwards is in, if Edwards is out, obviously that's going to dictate the bet that I put in already. But I'm on the Nuggets first half. Last 10 games at home in the first half, the Timberwolves are 3-7 ATS. The last 10 games on the road for this Nuggets team is 7-3 ATS, 4-1 in the last 5. They've been doing it up. Last 3, they win the last first halves in on the road. And they have been playing a lot of road games. You're right, bro. They have. But this is a game where it's probably the most important. And they're catching a kind of a dog at a right time. We seen the boy have the dunk of the year last night, dislocated his finger. We know if anything, I think if I put my money on anything as far as injuries or any player, I'm going to bet that he's playing tonight. So I'm not expecting Anthony Edwards to not be out there. Rudy Gobert missed the last game, so he's probably going to play this game too. That's for the purpose of him to play up against Jokic because this is a big game. So that makes most sense to me. That's the reason why I'm staying away from the full game. I'm only sticking to the first half. -4, -4.5 is official for the Nuggets. That's how I'm going to stick to the script there. Been recently trending in that direction for them. Obviously, I expect them to be the better team, especially, like I said, kind of getting the dog while they're a little bit wounded. Not necessarily wounded, but the T-Wolves are kind of wounded wolves right now. So I'll stick to the first half only with the Nuggets, and I'll let the rest of y'all have that full game.
I get it. I'm thinking about, what do you think about this real quick before we move on from this game? We could potentially be missing, Anthony Edwards, which would be a hell of a lot of offense for this Wolves team. And we expect this to be a game they both care about. That should mean they play defense. The under is 213, which I think we could maybe get there, but Minnesota in the first half, the under is 22-9 at home. I worry about their defense, being a little bit less after just playing, but I still think they show up. What do you think about that, Babano?
Well, I agree. Minnesota definitely all year has been a strong under team. Last 2 games have gone under, and that was against Utah as well. One of those I lost on the over, so I'm not rushing to bet over in this spot. Overall for the season, this is still a pretty good under team. How about Denver too? 42-25 to the under this season, and I think people forget they don't play fast most of the time. Denver, they're a pretty good defensive team when they want to be, and again, off the loss to Dallas, this is a night you would think the Denver Nuggets will want to be good at the defensive end against another Western Conference contender like the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I agree with that. The under is probably the way I'd go totals-wise here.
All right, good stuff. Well, Wham Bam, you had any say on that?
I agree with everything bro said.
All right, let's move on over to the best bet segment. And per usual, we do slide to my guy Wham Bam first. So I think I know what it is, but let the people know how to get paid.
Yeah, it's actually tricky because now that we talked, I think I like that Pelicans to be the best bet for sure for the show. Because I'm going to be betting that. So I think that's the best bet for the show. But the best bet for me is going to be Jabari Smith. I'm going to go take Jabari Smith just because I think that the line is telling me this is the best bet. And I'm going to agree with the market here. So the best bet is going to be Jabari Smith. He hasn't actually did it recently, but he's going up against the worst rebounding team. His point rebound prop is 9.5. So they're expecting him to get 10 rebounds. And I think his offense has already shown that they're on an up and up there. This is around the time of the season or the end of the season where you want to pick a guy and ride his props. Jabari has been always those guys towards the end of the season. So give me Jabari Smith, double-double, plus 125. Best bet for me.
I like it. Wham Bam giving you some plus money there. I will go next. And I'm, right with what Wham Bam said. The best bet for the show for me, Give me those Pelicans. I have them -7.5 in my pocket. There's still a couple 7.5s out there, so I will take that for the show. Just an absolutely horrific, terrible, whatever, abysmal, whatever spot you want to call it for this Brooklyn Nets team. And Pelicans been playing damn good basketball and are well rested. So Pelicans -7.5, best bet for Skee. And last but not least, he has some extra responsibilities today. Mr. Babano, let the people know what's your best bet and take us home.
Who am I to argue with 8-1 to the over in the last 9 meetings between these in-state rivals? We'll see if they can make it 9-1 to the over tonight. Dallas, San Antonio over 234. That is going to be my best bet here for this Tuesday NBA slate. And you're right, there's no Dutch, so it's up to me now to bring us home the way Dutch normally would here on this OG NBA show. And by the way, we're back Thursday. I hope I'm not too distracted because there's going to be a million screens in front of me when we're on Thursday during the NCAA tournament. But we will keep our eyes on the prize and be sure to be ready to give you NBA winners. Shout out to everyone in the chat, and make sure you hit the like button on the way out. The NBA is a hell of a drug, and you're looking at the plugs. Yeah, man. We're going in, and we're coming out with the motherfucking bag. Y'all stay fresh, stay blessed, and let's stay putting these motherfucking bookies to rest. Yeah, man.